Evansville. This is Jim Cropfield getting into the Budweiser turbine. He is the national point leader by a slim 600-point margin. George Johnson and the Oboy Alberto out of Seattle. A little trouble getting that stock Allison with the turbocharger going. And of course, Chip Hanauer, a winner of 2 straight this year and his 5th straight Gold Cup. George Johnson out of Seattle, as I said, will be running in Heat 1A in the Oboy Alberto. Todd Yarling, about 3 hours away from home. He lives in Indiana and drives the Risley Express. Jim Cropfield, the Miss Budweiser. And he will be meeting his old foe, Chip Hanauer, in the Miller American in Heat 1A. And already it looks like the Oboy Alberto is in trouble. In fact, George Johnson may have blown a turbo. In the meantime, here come the 2 turbines coming down for the start. A legal start, nowhere near the starting buoy. The Miller American in lane number 2 and the Budweiser on the inside with Jim Cropfield. This is a 2-mile course, a slight dogleg coming down the main straightaway. You see the boats turn right about there as they head into the first turn on the west end of the course. Miller American, slight lead coming into the first turn, but good positioning on the part of the Budweiser. The drivers like this course very much. You see the Budweiser now moving up. Pretty good water here today. Fairly calm. It was very choppy yesterday. Look at Cropfield. This is George Johnson still running, but I think he has blown a turbo. He'll try to get points if at all possible. But in the meantime, it is the Budweiser in first place, flying down the straightaway. Look at the Miller moving up, though, as they go into that turn. Now let's see how these 2 pros, these 2 veterans, handle that turn as they come around. I can't believe how much better this Budweiser boat is handling since Detroit and earlier in the year. Look at this shot. The 2 turbines, 2 veterans coming down the main straightaway. In the foreground is the Risley's Express with Todd Yarling. Lap speed for the Budweiser, 130.0 miles per hour, 127 plus for the Miller American. The Budweiser with Cropfield. He really hasn't defeated Chip Hanauer yet head-to-head when these 2 boats are at their best, but right now he is getting the better of his old friend Chip Hanauer and the Miller American down the back chute. About a rooster tail lead for the Budweiser turbine. Bud Griffin is not here for this race. He was sent back to Seattle. But in the meantime, the big brother, Jim Cropfield, and the Budweiser turbine doing just fine. And keep in mind, every heat is oh so important in the national points race now as we get almost midway through the 1986 season. He has a 600-point lead over the Miller American. Here they come around the 2nd turn, the east turn here on the Ohio River on this 2-mile course. Bernie Little, he's got a 600-point lead in the national points race and could pick up another 100 points in his margin here to make it 700 with a victory in Heat 1A. The Bud Turbine, right behind him, Chip Hanauer and the Miller American, winner of this 5th straight Gold Cup here in 1986 and a winner in Madison just a week ago, about 3 miles upriver from here. Beautiful shot of the Budweiser coming in now. That first turn, a little choppy. If either turn will be choppy at all, it'll be this one, especially later on in the day. 2 turbines out in front. Speed on that 2nd lap for the Budweiser, 130.2 miles per hour, 125 for the Miller American. A lot of air getting under the Miller, and he seems to be settling down and willing to take 2nd place at this stage anyway. They go 5 laps, a normal format of 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and then the final, unlike the experimental format we saw in Madison last week, where they ran only 3 laps, but had 3 flights of preliminary heats before the final. The Budweiser looking absolutely gorgeous as it goes by the Risley's Express. Todd Yarling aboard. They've had turbocharge problems, but hope to get enough points to get into the final and go for the money. Here comes the Budweiser turbine in first place. Jim Cropfield out of Cincinnati, Ohio, trying to get another 400 for the Budweiser. Ron Brown watching his boat go by. Chip Hanauer holding on to lane number 1, but he is in 2nd place here in Heat 1A of the Thunder on the Ohio 8. The Risley's Express and Todd Yarling. Risley's a longtime sponsor for hydroplane racing here in southern Indiana. This boat, as we said earlier, running so much better now, getting a lot more air under it and much more stable and not so responsive when it hits those bigger waves like it did in Detroit. Cropfield, one of the masters in turning these big thunderboats. Here comes Chip Hanauer. You're almost riding with him as you hear the sound of that Lycoming L7 turbine engine. The Budweiser in first place in Heat 1A. Cropfield, a member of the APBA Hall of Champions many times over, as is Chip Hanauer, the man right behind him, as they go down the back chute. The back straightaway here on the Ohio is simply a straight line. But as they come around the turn, they look at that dog leg to the left coming down the main straightaway. Gorgeous shot of the Budweiser coming around the second turn and heading down in front of better than 70,000 fans. Just going into the turn, as you see, is the Miller American, and the checkered flag awaits Jim Crutchfield and the Budweiser Turbine. 400 points to the Bud in Heat 1A. Pretty little happy to see that as he defeats Chip Hanauer and the Miller American. Second place to the Miller. And third place to Risley's Express. With an amazing average speed of 128.7 miles per hour, the Budweiser getting the victory. Miller American right up there, too, at 126. Very fast heat. Risley's Express getting 225 points, and the Oboy Oberto failing to finish. Down to the Budweiser camp with Jim Hendrick.
First time that you've gone head-to-head with Chip Hanauer, and this time you beat him.
Well, that's why we're here, to go out and beat. You know, the Budweiser guys, they worked all night on that gearbox, and we had a lot of problems over the weekend, and at Detroit also, but they did a fantastic job, and we're out here, and that's the way I love to go, head-to-head.
Bernie Little was yelling at you all the way around, but you can't hear him.
Yeah, he heard me all the way.
Down at the Miller camp, we understand the boat is suffering from some handling problems. We'll talk about that later on. Back in a minute.